What's up, YouTube? It's Josh, FJ55 Iron Pig. Thanks for clicking on that video. Doing a spur of the moment video because of, well, as a lot of you know, I work in the cable business. I'm a cable technician. And, yeah, I meet a lot of interesting people, a lot of scary people, sick people, cool people, and very interesting, glad I met people. In this town that I live in, it's a small town, around 23 to 25,000 people at the last census. It is very rich with military. There's a good amount of newer military and active duty people, not a huge amount, but there is a lot of people from Vietnam, Korea, World War II history behind them. And I've met people that work for the Sunspot program. That's the program that was in New Mexico at one of the giant magnifying glasses, space telescope, to watch the moon and plan when we would go to the moon, plan that mission, the actual traveling part of it. And that was cool. I've met people that were with Air America. If you've seen the movie Air America with Mel Gibson, you kind of get an idea of it. But Air America during Vietnam, I met a guy who was one of the commanders there, and a lot of these guys I've been able to spend a couple hours with, thankfully, and talk to them. I've met one of Patton's drivers. He has General George S. Patton's drivers. But today, I met a gentleman. He was very hard of hearing, so I had to yell at him so he can understand my questions, and I was setting up some stuff for him. But he was a very interesting character. This guy, maybe 5'6", and he looked a little feisty. Well, this guy was a supply clerk, basically. He worked with supply in the Air Force during World War II. He was in the Air Force for 3 years. In that 3 years, he was literally on the island of Iwo Jima. Before all that broke out, he was at the Battle of Midway. Battle of Midway, if I remember correctly, is the very first battle in the history of the world where it was fought entirely by air. And then he was at the Battle of the Coral Sea. He went to Saipan, and he went one other place I don't remember. But we're talking, and I don't have any cool stories like that, or scary, disturbing stories that stick with you for the rest of your life and mess you up. But we were talking, and he said, on Iwo Jima, and he gets super serious. As soon as he says that, his face changes, his attitude changes, just like a person does who's actually been in the shit, if you want to call it. And he's saying, on Iwo Jima, we had our thousands of boys that got killed. And he said, and there was over 26,000 Japanese, or he said Japs, 26,000 Japanese that were killed. And I knew these facts. I've read lots of books on a lot of the world wars, or a lot of the wars, especially World War II. But he said, I've been on a lot of ships, a lot of airplanes, and a lot of places in the world that did not smell good. He said, but when you have way over 26,000 dead bodies scattered across an island that is no bigger than 2 miles wide. I'm checking the address I need to go to, bear with me. Okay. And the smell is unbelievable. So you're in the Pacifics, you're on an island, Pacific Islands. It's hot, humid. It rains, he said, very regularly. He said every time it rained, the smell would get worse. He said it's a smell you can't describe with that many rotting bodies and the fear and everything else that's rotting away in a jungle type environment. Now, he said what made it worse, while I was there, we had a typhoon come through and monsoons, which is an extreme amount of wind and an extreme amount of rain. So, he said after this monsoon and typhoon hit, monsoon's different. It's a weather pattern. After the typhoon hit, body parts of the freshly killed and the rotting were coming down out of the slight hills there were, and they were coming down into the American positions. Now, you may think that's disgusting, and why wouldn't they just go out and collect all the bodies? Well, you're under fire. You can't exactly go collect your dead when you're being shot at with effective fire. And remember, the commander that was in charge of Iwo Jima on the Japanese side, what was his name? I think Kojima. I don't think it was Kojima. I don't remember his last name. But he told his troops that were in the caves and the very well hidden pillboxes and positions throughout the island, before you die, not say if you die, but before you die, you have to kill 10 Americans. Just a horrible situation. I just thought I'd share that. I mean, our greatest generation is dying away more and more rapidly. We're losing more and more of them. There are fewer left. And these men and women that experience these experiences and have this unique perspective on our society, a unique perspective on where we're going as a country, it's invaluable. You cannot get that perspective any other way. And I think it's sad. I've met a few of these folks that are writing books, that are thinking about it, but they're getting older. This guy was 93 years old. Still doing good. He has to use a walker now, but he's doing good. But just think, if no one collects the memoirs, diaries, the thoughts of this generation, and we only have a handful of them out there, that's a very sad thing, because they're in a unique position to pass on some great knowledge that can never be regained once it's gone. Just thought I'd share that, a little moment for you. So if you know anyone in your town, if you have any family members that serve, don't try to pry stories out of them. Let them happen naturally. But let them know you give a shit about them. Give them a hug. Give them a handshake. Buy them some coffee. Spend some time with them, more importantly. Especially if you got a family member or anybody you know that their family doesn't spend time with them and they're just isolated. Spend some time with them. Even if it's just a couple hours every once in a great while. It makes a huge difference. They are human beings after all. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you have any questions, comments, smart remarks, please put them below. And be nice to the older generation.